What's going on, you guys? It's Queer Frexy. We are back with a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 cards, in my opinion, from Murders of Karlov Manor for the Duel Commander format. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please feel free to comment down below which 10 cards you think are going to be on your list to watch out for from Murders of Karlov Manor, and be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. That being said, let's get into the video. All right, coming in our honorable mention slot, because I just think this card is too good not to talk about, we have Connecting the Dots. For 1 and a red is an enchantment. It says, whenever a creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library face down. You can't look at it. And for 1 and a red, discard your hand, sacrifice Connecting the Dots, put all cards exiled with Connecting the Dots into their owner's hand. I think in a lot of red decks, for certain strategies, you run out of cards really quick, but you don't run out of attackers. So I think this card is a really good way to refill your hand once you get into that mid game and your hand is starting to get thin and full of the extra lands you don't really need to play out. That is why this card is in our honorable mention slot. Coming in at number 10, we have Call a Surprise Witness. For 1 and a white. It's a sorcery. Return target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a flying counter on it. It's a spirit in addition to its other types. This is another one of those card effects that white has been getting recently, where you can bring something back 3 or less. This just gives it a flying counter, which I think makes it more valuable than a lot of the other ones we've seen recently. And I think it's worthy of being played in a lot of white decks going into 2024 Duel Commander. At number 9, we have War Leader's Call. 1 and Boros enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, War Leader's Call deals 1 damage to each opponent. I think this card is crazy good. I'm known as the Boros hater, but this card is just Impact Tremors on like ×10 IMO. Like, I think this is so much better than Impact Tremors. This is like, it's a banner effect, right? I don't know if they're actually called banners, but the +1/+1 effects, you can correct me in the comments. It's a +1/+1 effect and a Impact Tremors, which in decks like General Ferris this is gonna be a huge impactful card. It's gonna make you a golem, and it's gonna make you have your creatures be buffed, which I worded that so bad, but it's okay because this card speaks for itself. And coming in at number 8, we have a card that you may recognize from me. I may be a little biased in this card, but we have Treacherous Greed, a 1 and Orzhov instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature that dealt damage this turn. You draw 3 cards. Each opponent loses 3 life, you gain 3 life. I think this card in Orzhov decks is going to be so good, and specifically like decks like Rafine is going to value off of this really heavily. I think Greasefang loves this card, IMO, because with Greasefang, you're going to have to bounce that vehicle that you swung with at the end of the turn anyway, so why not sack it, put it in the graveyard, and ready to reanimate again next turn? I mean, it's a no-brainer. I think this card is sick, and I think it's worth putting in a few of your Duel Commander decks. So why not go to TCGplayer.com and get the cards you want today? You can build thousands of decks with the library of cards you can get from TCG Player. I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer. TCG Player is home to thousands, if not millions, of singles you can get, and precons. They have their own sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, you name it, you can get it at TCG Player, and you can get it within 4 days when using the express checkout if the option applies through their direct service. That's right. You can do the direct service by TCG Player and get them within 4 days. How amazing is that? And at number 7, we have Not On My Watch. 1 and a white, exile target attacking creature. This is just a very good control card. It's got good value. It exiles, and it's an instant. Like, it's just so good. I don't think there's a world where decks that are in white don't want to play this card. It's just good fashion removal. And at number 6, we have another Orzhov card. It is Soul Search for Orzhov sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. Exile that card. If the mana's value was 1 or less, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. It's another hand hate piece, but this time it gets exiled. I think this card is super good in Orzhov decks and Orzhov adjacent decks like Rafine, Tivit, Atraxa, where you're going into a late control game, where I just think this card is so good and I think it's worth playing. So add it to your list. All right, at number 5, we have the commander I personally am the most hyped for in Duel Commander, going out of Murders of Karlov Manor. We have Lev Wear of Faces for Dimir. This is a legendary creature, shapeshifter, detective. When Lev Wear of Faces attacks, exile target card from a graveyard, then investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you may have Lev become a target of a creature card exiled with it until the end of turn. The options are truly endless with this card. You can take your opponent's stuff and turn Lev into it. You can build the deck to be kind of a reanimator shell and turn Lev into things like Archon of Cruelty, Fleet Swallower, Hullbreaker Horde. The possibilities for this card are endless. I wouldn't be surprised if you peep my Mox field over the next couple weeks and you see a Duel Commander deck for this commander pop up. And at number 4, we have the first of 2 non-counterable spells that are going to be on this list. We have Slice from the Shadows, which is an X and black instant. This spell cannot be countered. Target creature gets -X/-X until the end of turn. Non-counterable removal for this format is so good. I'm so happy to see it as a black player, and I think it's going to be played. I mean, most of the time this spell costs 3 mana or 4, because a lot of the creatures we want to get rid of in this format are going to be 1 through 4. So it's a no-brainer to include this card. At number 3, we have our first Azorius card of this list. It is No More Lies. Instant speed for Azorius. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. This is just Azorius Spell Pierce. It's so much better than Spell Pierced IMO. I almost rate this higher than Dovin's Veto, and I might be on something for that, but you can let me know in the comments. I think this card is sick. It's great. It's going immediately into my Rafine deck, and I think it is worthy of being at number 3 on this list. Coming in at number 2, we have Long Goodbye, 1 and a black, the instant that can't be countered, destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. We finally got Power Crept Eliminate. I'm so excited for this card. Every deck I had that runs Eliminate is immediately getting swapped to this card because it's just 10 times better than Eliminate. Can't be countered is so good. It's the same mana cost as Eliminate, same effect. It just can't be countered. And it's just, it's such an upgrade. And I'm so excited for this card. I almost put it in my number 1 slot. But coming in at number 1, we have Delany, Streetwise Lookout, 2 and a white legendary creature, Human Scout. Creatures you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. If an ability a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. It is a 2/2, and this card is so good. It's just so good. There's a lot you can do with this card. It speaks for itself. It's a Panharmonicon for 2 or less. It's so good. I think a lot of the mono white decks we've been seeing pop up are going to be slotting this card in, if not switching their commander to this card, because there's just so many good effects for power with power 2 or less in this format, and that's why it is number 1 on my list. I am very high key on this card. I think I'm going to slot it to my Rafine deck as well. That being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you have cards you're super hyped for from Murders at Karlov Manor, please leave them down in the comments below. I might do a part 2 for this video, probably not, because I feel like I've talked about the main cards that should be talked about for this. But if I missed any, please let me know in the comments. Leave a like, share, and Subscribe if you haven't already. That being said, I'm Queer for Exile. You can find me on all the socials there, and you can find our sponsor linked down below. TCG Player is such an amazing site, and KMC sleeves are the best in the business, and you should always be shuffling up with the Hyper Mats or Hyper Phoenixes. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.